Okay, so we are going to do linear equations word problems part 2. So it starts with a scenario and it says there is a fee to rent a moving truck from Lucky Trucks plus $20 per hour. Emily rented a truck for 7 hours and paid $200. What is the fee? Okay, so in this situation, it's giving us some information and we kind of have to decipher what it's giving us. So it says, remember regarding the graph of the linear scenario. The rate is $20 per hour. And what is that? So when you're given a rate in a problem, what does it tie to? What do you guys think? The slope. Very good. So the rate, $20 per hour, is the slope. The fee is the, guess what we're working with here? Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so the fee in this case, so remember that she's going to pay a fee and then pay an hourly rate. So what does the fee stand for? The Y-intercept. Very good. Now, in this situation, they gave us the slope. Did they give us the fee? Did they give us the Y-intercept? No. But what else did they give us? They gave us the total and they told us how much time. Okay. So it says here the problem is reworded. If the slope of a line, if a line has a slope of 20 and passes through the point 7, 200, then what is the Y-intercept? Okay, so you guys have to remember that when we start writing our equation, this y equals mx plus b, in this particular case, we had y equals 20x plus b. X, and I always like to write this out, is the number of hours that you're renting that truck. And then Y stands for the total rental cost. So when we know that we paid $200 and we rented it for 7 hours, what we're going to get to do is we're going to put that into our equation. So we can solve it graphically. What they've done for us is they've started us off at 7 and 200. So that's our point. And then we're going to use our slope, and our slope is a positive 20 over 1. So this looks like it went up by 20. It's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and it went over by 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can go up 20 over 1, up 20 over 1. Now I can solve this, like they say, graphically. So make sure that sometimes it's easier just to do this. Make sure my ruler's right. Okay, so where's my Y-intercept? Yep, 20, 40, 60. Okay, so if we are going to solve this algebraically, because we don't always have a graph handy, and if you were trying to graph, you know, in the hundreds, that would be difficult. So what we can do, I always start with my basic equation. You plug in what we know. Well, what do we know? We know the slope is 20. We know that the X was 7 because they rented that truck for 7 hours. And we know that the total cost was 200. You guys have done these problems before. 7 times 20 is 140. And then to solve this, we would take and subtract 140. I'm sure you guys could just visually tell what that would be as well. And notice that our intercept was 60 and graphically it was 60 as well. So if we wrote our final equation, the X and Y stay as variables. And then this way, this equation, we could figure out what the cost would be depending on any number of hours to rent that truck. So if you had to rent that moving truck for 10 hours or for 1 hour or for 8 hours, you can plug those variables in for X and you could solve for Y. So we are going to practice these. Jack opened a savings account and put some money in. We don't know how much money. And then he started saving $150 each month. Anytime they throw out like a consistent value, a constant, that's going to be your rate of change or your slope. We'll kind of highlight there. After 9 months, he had 1970. So remember that the input is how many months we're saving. The output is how much money he has. Solve the problems algebraically below. Okay, when he first opened the account, how much money did he put in? We don't know, do we? Put in some money, okay? So we're gonna solve for that first. So y equals, the slope was 150x plus b. We know from looking at it, the input is our x. It'll be 150 times 9. And the output after 9 months, he had $1,970. Oh no, I don't have a calculator. Could someone calculate 150 times 9?
1,300.
Thank you. Okay, and then we're gonna subtract 1,350 from both sides. When I do that, I get 620. So that means that he started with $620 in the account. Okay. What is the linear equation to represent this situation? Well, his total savings, which would be y, equals the $150 monthly he puts in there, so 150 times x, plus the $620 that he started with. I always like to highlight x is the number of months that he has been saving, and y would be the total savings that he has. I think the more you practice and the more you define these things, the easier these problems become. So the next part says, he now has $3,620. How many weeks has it been? So couple catches here. Where do we put this 3,620?
At the Y.
At the Y, that's right. So 3620 equals, we're solving for x, 150x plus 620. Okay. So I'm going to subtract 620 first. Okay, this equals 3,000 equals 150x. Next step is going to be to divide. Does someone want to take 3,000 and divide it by 150 for me? 20. Okay, now here is my catch. Did anyone notice it? It says in weeks, okay? And we know that X stands for the number of months.
So 20
Not divided by 4.
times
4, because this is 20 months. And I guess we're going to estimate that there are 4 weeks in a month. So I would say about 80 weeks. There's always a catch. Okay. This next one. So it says, since Kira bought her car, its value has been dropping $1,200 per year. After 4 years, it's worth $14,200. So again, we don't know the starting cost of that car. So we're always, in these ones, we're going to start with our equation, y equals mx plus b. Start filling in what you know. So I know that my dropping, that's going to be a negative 1,200. So my slope is negative 1,200. Now I do have a point. This is my x. Years would be my x. and Y would be how much it's worth. So I'm gonna have that 14,200 in there, and then 4 in for X. And I am looking for the starting cost of that car. So if I did 4 times negative 1,200, that'd be negative 4,800. And then I need to add that because it was a negative. So in order to cancel it out, okay, 0, 0, 0, 9, 1, 19,000. So how much was her car worth when she bought it? $19,000. So now you guys just found out what B was. So they want you to write the equation. Just keep that slope negative because it's a depreciating, but it started at 19,000. Again, I think it's really helpful to tell yourself, what does X? X is the number of years, and Y is the total worth maybe, or the value of the car. Total worth. Okay. So then once you've done that legwork, you can answer other questions about the car. How much will the car be worth after 7 years? So we want to know what is the total worth. So what is Y after 7 years? So I put 7 in for X, and that 19,000 needs to stay there because that was the original price of the car. So 7 times 12 would be 8,400. So you've got a negative 8,400 plus 19,000, which would give us, if we take away 10,600. That seem right? Yeah. So creating these linear equations help us set up problems to like calculate for later. So even things like this, you could put an equation like this into a spreadsheet, which is kind of, I mean, that's kind of what some computer programming would be using these equations for. Okay. So the last part here, it says, sometimes we do not know the rate of change or the slope. Okay, but we are given 2 points. So this one says, Bob's bug extermination charges a fee and then has a certain amount per visit. John had them come 4 times and it had cost him $260. Rachel had them come 7 times and it cost her $380. What is the fee? This particular situation, they put our 2 points on there. If you have 2 points on a graph, what can you do? You can find the slope, okay? Anytime you've got 2 points, you can find the slope, whether they're on the graph or you can use a slope formula, which we will do next. Okay, so we're gonna find our slope first. Now, if you look at this graph, does this look kind of hard? No? Are they on perfect intersections?
No.
No, so can we just count up and over? That looks kind of hard. So maybe because they're not on perfect intersections, we should just jump straight to our slope formula. Okay, change in Y over change in X. I still like to take my points, X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So the first step would be to find the slope. Y2 would be 380 minus 260. Then I'd have 7 minus 4. 380 minus 260 would give you 120. 7 minus 4 is 3. 120 divided by 3 is 40. Okay, so what does that 40 mean? That's our slope, yep. In this situation, anybody have any ideas? Yeah? Yes, perfect, okay. This is the cost per visit. Okay, the more visits, the more it's gonna cost. So we can't write our equation yet because we are missing the fee that he charges, but we do know that this is how much it costs per visit, okay? So we're gonna go, our second step is to find the Y-intercept, or in this case, the fee. So I'm gonna do Y equals mx plus b. I can put in 40 for my m. That's what I just solved for. How do I know what to put in for y and x? Pardon? 260 be the y. Could you use 380? Yeah, you can use either point. You just have to pick one of them. Okay. So for example, if I put 260 in for the y, then I have to put 4 in for the x. 40 times 4 is 160. And then I would subtract 160. And 100 equals b. So if I had my equation here, I'd have y equals 40x, that's the cost per visit. So 40 times the number of visits plus the $100, maybe he charges a disposal fee or something, chemical fee. So the fee is $100. The number of visits, the total cost. I still like to tell myself what X and Y are. Okay. So this one says Frankie and Maria paid to get into the carnival, and then they had to pay a certain amount per game. Okay, so here's your per game cost. That's going to be your slope. Frankie played 5 games and spent $15.50 altogether. Maria paid 12 games and spent $26 altogether. So what is changing? What affects the other? The X, the number of games would be your X, and the total cost would be your Y, just because that's your input and your output. So sometimes it's helpful to throw your ordered pairs together first. 5 and 15.50, and then 12 and 26. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So the first step, you have to find your slope. If this question says how much does it cost to get into the carnival? So we kind of have to work backwards. We have to find that Y-intercept. We know by finding the slope, we can figure out how much it costs per game. So I'm going to have 26 minus 15.50 over 12 minus 5. Okay, so 26 minus 15.50 is 10.50. Yeah. And then 12 minus 5 is 7. Someone want to do 10.50 divided by 7 for me? 1.5. Okay, so that means it's $1.50 a game, but we still need to know how much it costs to get into that carnival. So you can pick one of those ordered pairs to to be fair, I always choose the ordered pair that doesn't have a decimal or doesn't have a negative. I try to look for the easier route. So if I were to plug this in, I would have 26 equals $1.50 times 12 plus B. Okay, so 150 times 12, 6 times 3 would be 18. And then I subtract 18 from both sides. And 26 minus 18 would be 8. So what does that tell us? $8 is the fee to get in, $1.50 is the cost per game. So how much does it cost to get into the carnival? $8 to get in would be your final answer. If you wanted to express this as our equation just for good practice, the slope is 150 plus the $8 to get in. This is the number of games. This would be the total cost. Okay, let's do at least one more. These are good practice. So as Andre has lots of Halloween candy, he ate the same amount of each candy each day, so that tells you it's consistent. After 10 days, he had 115 pieces. After 18 days, he had 43 pieces. So we know that we're gonna have what kind of slope? Is it gonna be positive or negative? Negative, because he's eating more candy, so it's gonna keep decreasing. How much will he have left over 22 days? So the input output, the input is the number of days, so that's your X, and then the Y is the number of pieces you have left. So our two ordered pairs would be 10 and 115, and then 18 and 43. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So M equals 43 minus 115 and 18 minus 10. 43 minus 115. You haven't heard that? Someone?
Negative 72.
Negative 72, thank you. And then 18 minus 10 is 8. 72 divided by 8 is 9. So that means he's eating 9 pieces of candy a day. That's his slope, that's his rate of change. But we don't know how many he started with. So if you don't know how many he started with, you've got to find that Y-intercept. So Y equals negative 9x plus B. You can use either ordered pair. It does not matter which one. I think I'm going to pick the 115 just because I don't want to have to multiply negative 9 times 18. So sometimes I will kind of look at the problem ahead and see if I can avoid or make some easier math for myself. So that gives me a negative 90. So if you have a negative 90, how do I cancel it out? Add it. So I'm going to add 90 to both sides. So 110 plus 90 would be 200. So this turns out to be 205. So this means that he started with 205 pieces of candy. He eats 9 pieces of candy a day. How much will he have left after 22 days? The days is our X. So I'm going to write my basic equation. Negative 9x plus 205. X is the number of days. And Y is the number of pieces of candy. Oops, sorry, you guys can't see that. So because they asked after 22 days, I can put 22 in for X. So he would have eaten 198 pieces of candy. He started with 205 pieces. What does that give him? 7 pieces of candy. How do you guys feel about it?
We should do it.
Okay, last problem. Dan and Laura had to pay for to sign up for guitar lessons. So you have to sign up and then you pay a certain amount per lesson. Dan took 4 lessons and spent 190. So the input would be your 4 and the output would be the cost of 190. So right away, I know my 2 ordered pairs are going to be 4 and 190. And then Laura, she took 9 lessons and spent $315. Okay, so X1 is 4, Y1 is 190. The first thing I'm going to do is find the slope because this is going to give me my how much it costs per lesson. So I'm going to take 315 and minus 190 and then 9 and subtract 4. So 315 minus 200 would be 115 and then add that 10, 125 and then 9 minus 4 gives me 5. 5 goes into 125 25 times. So that means each lesson costs $25. We still don't know what that startup fee is. We do know that an X and Y, so we can put either of those in there. Maybe I'll just start with 4 and 190. You know, 4 is going to be a nice number. So 190 equals our slope times our X, which was 4. And we're looking for B. 25 times 4 gives us that nice number of 100 that I was kind of going for. And then to get B by itself, I would subtract 100. This is going to give me 90 equals B. So that means that it costs $90 just to sign up for lessons. And then it's going to cost us $25 every lesson afterwards. So I think writing an equation is helpful to visualize this. X is the number of lessons and Y is the total cost. So once you set up that equation, you should be able to figure out what you're going to do with that money that their friend Mitch spent. He spent $440. That's going to be in his total cost because we want to know how many lessons he took. Okay, so I put that in for Y and then I'm going to solve. I'm going to subtract 90 from both sides. So it gives you 350 equals 25X. Divide by 25 goes in there 12 times. Oh, no, more than that. 14 times. 16 times. Okay, 16. So I want to check that. I feel like I'm a little off. 350 divided by 25 gives 16? 14? I was right the first time then. Okay. So how many lessons did he take? He took 14 lessons. Oh, it was 100. That's